the SM Media Podcast Network. Hi folks, and welcome to our latest episode of SM Media's Countdown to Cheltenham 2025. I'm Scott McPike. It's a pleasure as always to be your host. I will apologise that there wasn't a show last week. A few things kind of got in the way, but we're obviously back. We're going to review Trials Day, and we'll obviously review in depth the Dublin Racing Festival. To join me as always from the Scottish Daily Mail, it's always a pleasure. Welcome, Callum McClurkin.
Hi there, yeah. 5 weeks ago now, so Dublin Racing Festival been and gone. Probably a lot of questions that have been answered there. There's now 10 sub 2-1 shots for the Cheltenham Festival, 28 races. So yeah, it's getting closer, and the picture's getting a little bit clearer as well.
I think, to be fair, since we last spoke kind of 2 weeks ago, I think we've seen a few Cheltenham Festival winners. It's hard not to think that after what we've kind of seen. We've seen a few really good horses come out over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely clear favourites, and nothing's nailed on in this game, and people will take some of them on and things like that, and things can change. So, but yeah, I mean, there was obviously the two novices at the DRF were novice hurdlers were stunning. The two novice chasers were high profile, enhanced it, and Galloping Deschamps did what Galloping Deschamps always does. And been wickedly impressive again. This power from the back to the last is just a sensational trademark of his. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot, and then there'll be plenty of handicap blocks in behind and things like that. And 5 weeks ago, you won't be far away from getting basic entries for that in the middle of February. So yeah, I mean, it's all coming together.
We will park questions for next week. We'll have a special, obviously, next week. It's kind of after the DRF where there's not as much action. There's obviously some good races this weekend that we will cover next week. We'll have a wee bit of a kind of question special next week. We'll go over the kind of trials day. We obviously had 5 Grade 2s. We're not going to get into every race. We'll talk about kind of some of the ones that were impressive. Obviously, East India Dock, I think, put in a very good performance and is now definitely a play on the Triumph Hurdle, kind of around about 72 second favourite. What I liked about this, Callum, was just how economical it was. Like, it was for a 4-year-old, it was very, very calm and composed, and I thought showed a pretty good temperament for this race.
And he thrashed a good yardstick and stencil by 10 lengths. And made virtually all. He's very fluent, and you've got this kind of intriguing kind of battle between him and Lambert at the top of the market, where East India Dock probably looks like the polished, high-class flat recruit that's got plenty of back class, and you've got Lambert, who's probably more a National Hunt kind of background, the more kind of traditional. I mean, he'd be your Magsborough type, and I mean, a horse like East India Dock's forward probably be a more nimble kind of Lossiemouth type. I mean, you'd imagine they won't be meeting ever again after this. One will stick to hurdling and one will go over fences surely down the line. But yeah, and this is wickedly impressive, and on bare form. You should be favourite East India Dock. He's done that over C&D again. He's improved again. He's got a very good flat rating, and he looks a natural jumper. He stays, he's ground versatile. He'll be ridden handy. He settles quite nicely. There's certainly not a lot of holes to pick from him, and he looks incredibly forward. And that's what James Owen was kind of saying. I mean, Burdett Road's now rated 150. He's probably a bit better down the line, but and he's probably got more of a kind of wow factor about him and things like that. But he wasn't as tractable as he was as a juvenile. I mean, he's putting it all together now, and he's been lightly raced enough, and James Owens learnt from last season with Burdett Roads of how to campaign them. So yeah, I mean, you could make a case that the prices could be a lot closer. I just think Lallamba's got that superstar potential about him. He only got one run, but he would need to improve on it plenty to turn over East India Dock, who might be improving himself. That is a bona fide 140 performance. And mid 140s, tends to win your Triumph. So I mean, it's going to be a good race. And East India Dock, I mean, if you're up to your times and sectionals, he's the one to beat by quite some way actually.
Yeah, obviously we'll cover the Irish horses later on when we cover the DRF. We'll get into Constitution Hill. Obviously, it was fairly smooth up until the last hurdle. Probably one of those things that, again, if it was better competition, it would probably led to a kind of more kind of interesting finish. It's not like Constitution Hill to do that, but I think what Nico de Boinville's reaction, I think maybe suggests it was maybe just a jockey error. But is there any doubt in him now, like that after that? Or?
Well, I mean, he's only had to run at 150 there to win that in the bridle. He's had nothing to beat, and it was comfortable, and he looked a bit fitter and things like that. So I mean, he's on his way back to a decent level, and he's fit and healthy, and just running him was a sign of confidence, because I suppose he didn't need to take that kind of risk ahead of Cheltenham. Yeah, it was comfortable enough. He's dived at the last because I think Nico de Boinville's asked him the wrong question at the wrong time, and he's kind of been dossing about and so all right, I'll ask you one, and he's kind of put down on him. So, but he's clever enough to find the leg, and he's ploughed through that. And if he was going lossy by his speed, he probably went down. It was a good thing he was doing a hack canter. But I mean, it's good. It's good. Maybe that'd be a reminder that'll sharpen him up and say, you've got to kind of concentrate a little bit more. Jockey and horse in that regard. But yeah, I mean, he's done what he's had to do. Pretty minimal fuss. It's just whether this champion hurdle's going to cut up, that something's going to get him, off the bridle and asking him and really ask him about, what is that kind of engine like there when he's going to genuinely have to ask for pressure. I mean, I know Lossiemouth was quite behind, but he did get him at least up to at least fourth gear, and he wasn't kind of. If you watch that last from the line back, Kempton, okay, he's probably not asking him too much, but there wasn't getting any quicker, wasn't putting any further distance behind him in 2.5 lengths. So yeah, he's 46. The things are beginning to align now, and he's the one now all of a sudden that's got less to prove, given what's going on in Ireland over the week. So yeah, 46. It's about fair. It's just all about kind of keeping the revs ticking over and getting them there in one piece and being sound, and we'll see where that takes them.
Yeah, again, it was economic enough. Obviously, the last hurdle with a wee bit of doubt, but again, he's just so impressive. He's just the way he's come back, like been going off 1-12. I'm interested to see what your thoughts are on the Irish contingent, which we'll cover later on. So we'll maybe just part that for that. Into the kind of other races, Cotswold Chase, Lompress is a player, each way player in the Gold Cup at best. Gill Road, his day in the sun in the Cleve Hurdle, and then in the novice hurdle, the Grade 2, probably just a race too much for Potter's Charm.
Yeah, disappointing Potter's Charm a little bit. The bubble might have slightly burst here, but it's a 6 Mile Bridge, could be a good horse in his own right. Yeah, Potter's Charm, he could come back, he could bounce back. The good thing is at least you've got consistency with the Nigel Twiston-Davis yard. The new one kind of bombed out one day and actually came back to win at the Cheltenham Festival and all. So he could do that, but the Tunnels now looks hotter than it was, and he's now blotted his copybook a little bit, and it's hard to kind of see him winning it. He could run into a place, he could be second or third. The 10, 12 to 1 odds of that kind of reflect his chance. So yeah, I think that's been threatening to happen with him for a while. I thought he got away with it at Aintree over an inadequate 2 miles, and then they think this is a decent pot to go for, and that one they've been found out a little bit. So I think the shade of he's underperformed, and maybe he's not as good as we thought. Gill Road, he won. He was a poor price, I thought, but he's a reliable one in that market, in that sphere, to beat Strong Leader and Crambo and Monmoral, who did quite well each way. Right. But this is mid 140 form. That's
Strongly. Why are they still persistent to take Strongly?
That's where the graded race was, and he tried to get him back on track, and it's just a flop for just getting back for Aintree, really, to try and defend that crown. That's where Crambo will have to go lightly now as well. I mean, the thing with Gill Road winning is it does pay a little bit of a compliment to Lucky Place, who might be the one in Britain to fly the flag a little bit, but is he an out 3 mile? is he in Teahup's level or even Home by the Lees level? Probably not, according to the market.
Into kind of Lahon Press, I was obviously Lahon
Mm.
Press was 45. Again, probably kind of 25-1 for a Gold Cup. Maybe can get into the kind of placings. I thought probably one of his best runs in a long time from Stage Star.
Yeah, I mean, it's surprisingly, he did quite well at 3 miles there, and almost held on. I think Lone Press won it comfortably enough in
Yeah,
the end, and I think it was given a quite a clever, considerate ride by Charlie Deutsch and not asking him maximum because Venetia Williams Yard were under a cloud, and he's the one from Trials Day that's won it like it was a trial for
yeah,
the World Cup. He will definitely. You'd assume that he would definitely be better on the day than he was there. He would have to be to place,
hmm
but he could. But I mean, he's probably. Well, I mean, the Gold Cup might be cutting up to such a large degree now that Gallup and Deschamps scaring them pretty much all the way. He could be third on that. I think you need it soft, but yeah, he's an each way player, and he can. He usually always runs his race, doesn't he? So I hope he makes it for some British representation anyway.
yeah, absolutely. Well, just obviously quick word on the two handicaps. I thought Jaguar was very good. I'm really interested to see what they kind of do with him. Mundarange obviously was a bit of a crazy race. Obviously made a terrible mistake at the last, but managed to obviously just get there in time. Like obviously, like maybe in that kind of race, you're looking at a Rocco maybe kind of down the line. Like I thought Imperial Saint ran a good race, but what do we think about the two kind of handicap races for the possible festival and even further down the line?
Yeah, I think the opener will be pretty significant
Mm.
towards the kind of 2.5 mile novice race, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
Jaguar looked obvious for that.
Mm-hmm.
So did the second, in fairness. Masaccio,
Ultima?
he ran okay. Well, Ultima's been the long term plan. Alan King said that, fairly reasonably. Obviously, the owner, Max McNeil, sponsors the race and he'd love to
Yeah.
have a chance at that. I'm not really sure if he's that progressive. And a whistle stop tour if they run him in the. I mean, he could go Ultima now. He's got enough runs to qualify, for
Yeah.
instance. Resplendent Grey might be a bit high in the handicap now, but he's got some decent form. But I thought that race was better than the 150 with a view. I mean, Aroko, I'm beginning to come round that he's not well handicapped anymore.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
I know the stewards had a word for him getting beat by 5 lengths and things like that, but now they're kind of they might skip the Ultima and things like that, and they might even skip the National. I don't really understand what they're kind of
Well, the
trying to do with
national,
them
yeah.
anymore.
The
Um,
national wouldn't be for him
so
at all.
yeah, Grand National it seems to be an obvious target for him, but they've just kind of been a bit too coy and lukewarm, and I just think maybe 152 kind of sums him up really.
Yeah. Yeah, like, again, like he wouldn't be married after national at all. But I think maybe we've seen potentially two, maybe three winners from Trials Day. Let's move into the weekend after. We'll link a few horses that maybe ran the week before into this because obviously with like the likes of kind of Kawabunga, I thought was pretty good. Dancing City that we'll cover, I'd imagine. But we'll start with the Nathaniel Lacey and the 115 where we saw a very impressive performance, very, very interesting. The market vibes from Final Demand went off 11 to 8. Just very, very impressive. Jumped very nice economically as well. I think you can argue maybe with the two novice hurdle races, what have they beaten behind? But I think we have seen two serious horses. We'll start with Final Demand. Willie Mullins said it. I think we both are kind of leaning towards the same way. It's not very light Willie Mullins to send a horse like this to Albert Bartlett, and he's favourite for the Turners. 90% sure he goes that
It's
route.
100% for me.
Yeah,
Tunnels all day long now. I showed enough pace. When he was niggled, he picked up quite nicely. And I mean, Wingmen, it's, he's a solid high 130s horse.
yeah.
When he ran his race up the
Martin
speed,
Pipe
and
maybe with him.
that's what they seem to be. I mean, it seemed to be Albert Bartlett initially, and then they're kind of thinking maybe he can do what Bentley's ahead didn't and run well in off top weight in a Martin Pipe.
Yeah,
That's what I thought he kind of was anyway. Yeah, he could do that, but I mean, it was all about the winner. He was backed out of the boards, and
yeah,
I remember seeing the second, I think, to him at Limerick came over at Ayr, and he looked like a physically imposing individual, and he won easily for Gordon Elliott at 3-1 Timmy Tuesday,
Hmm.
and he off 118, and he won like he's comfortably a 130 horse, and by differential, the final demand was comfortably a 140, 145 horse. I mean, I thought he'd want to almost 150. If you think
154 RPR he's been given.
yeah, well, that's just all those numbers are inflated in my opinion. But I mean, but yeah, I mean, I always give it a bit less. But I mean, 149 for me. But I mean, I think it was good. Yasmin Devoy wants further, but I still can't really trust him in the jump department. And he's losing way too much kind of ground at what he's doing, and the rest in behind. Super Sunday was disappointing,
Yeah.
pulling up quite quickly. So maybe found things a little bit too attritional. I think it probably wasn't a great race, but the second saves it from decent
Hmm.
form. And the way the winner is, he's going to be a big strapping 3 mile chaser next season, and he's going to be a bona fide Brown advisory
Yeah.
candidate in his class. So the Bartlett, they tend to just avoid it with the classier horses. There is a worry that it's a little bit too attritional for them. Maybe some of them are fine,
Would
but
it be your play for the Turners at the moment based on what he's done?
have to be at the moment. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's holding all the aces. He's not miles clear. It is clear, but the thing is, with Brian Drew, the similar horse, and they remind me of Brave Man's Game a
It's
little bit.
very similar to the year that Bob Bollinger won it, because you'd Gallard and O'Neill obviously came from this. You had Brave Man's Game came from the Charlo, which is the New Lion, and you might have the Lawlers of Dace Winner and the Yellow Clay. So you'd be three potential
Yeah,
good
they've got
horses.
different types because I
Yeah.
would think that Brave Man's Game, you'd be more inclined to say Brave Man's Game looks more like Final Demand, and the New Lion looks
Yeah.
a bit like the pacier individual.
Hmm.
But I mean, the Charlo's got a bad record. I'd be more confident with him than the soft crown for the Tunners. He was very impressive from Limerick, and the thing is, he could still improve from that,
Hmm.
and that's the kind of thing. So yeah, he just about sets a standard, and I think he's favourite. But it's a deep race in behind, as I say, Cowabunga. Cocktail Divan didn't run well, but he could bounce back at Cheltenham as Henry de Bromhead can. So I mean, at least in that race, there looked to be like at least 5 or 6 credible dangers to him.
Yeah, I think it's probably the most deeper than August hurdles, as we'll probably get into throughout the course of the month. Let's move into the juvenile hurdle, won by Hello Neighbour, obviously for Gavin Cromwell. Disappointing favourite in St Lucie, who was backed off the boards 13-8 and just didn't really go at all. Couple of things from this, obviously, before we talk about the winner. You've mentioned for a long time about the Mayor's hurdle picture. I really think Leda Vega Allen could be a player in this next year, because I think for a juvenile, she's shown she can stay further. And I think she's very, very calm for a juvenile. I think next year we could be talking about her for a Mayor's hurdle.
Yeah, possibly. I just think the form is nowhere near what it needs to be. This is nowhere near Vauban, Lossiemouth
No.
form. This is a good 15, £20 below. I think the winner's got to find
Yeah.
£10 right now, and Lalamba's going to improve massively. And East India Dock could have still improved massively. I did back Hello Neighbour. I backed all 4 of the Grade 1 winners in the first day and pairing them up. That's what the Dublin Racing Festival seems to be all about now, is try and get the right shorty. I didn't understand the gamble. Said Lucy thought she was way too short. I think she was nowhere near the high end pre-season Mullins pecking order at all, and she was way too fizzy and bombed out. Racing the choke out. Did everything wrong at the start and didn't do much right in the race. So I think she was a false favourite based on connections there. And the Hello Neighbour was trying the hood settled, and he did a lot. He did a lot better, a lot more right, and he can improve as well. But I think he'd have to get
Yeah.
involved in the triumph. He was tanking through it. There was not really much doubt, and I just didn't think he was doing a tap in front. I think he's maybe a bit bone idle there, and he's pulled out more. In his defence, he did go an absolute crawl, and he will be suited by coming through horses a little bit more and a stronger pace, and that might see him in really good light, and he could force his way into the picture because the talent is there, the physique is there, and he will improve. But I think he's a good deal behind the British pair. Galileo Dame ran quite well.
Yeah.
Probably take a chance at Triumph. Lady Vega Allen will probably take a chance in a Triumph. I don't.
Willie de Huel maybe for a Boodles, just the hype just is maybe unfounded, but wouldn't rule him out on Boodles at the moment if he can get in.
I don't think he's going to. Yeah, I mean, I thought he was kind of Boodle's eye catcher, but I mean, 138.
Yeah,
Has he done anything to justify that over here?
no,
No.
no, no
And
chance.
he looks badly handicapped. But again, he's stuck on his task pretty well off of pace. It would be too slow to him. But again, he's another that needs to learn to settle, and he isn't.
We'll move into the Irish Arkle. Obviously, Majborough didn't really move in the betting. I think they're still getting about 94 5 to 2 second favourite. I thought at times his jumping was a wee bit novice, but the way he just kind of shook up and just was able to just take it on. I think Touch Me Not's ran okay. I think he's probably maybe a handicap player down the line. But Majborough, if you'd said to me after the Triumph to line up 10 potential Willie Mullins Arkle horses, he wouldn't have been in the Arkle player. But he's done very, very well in his two starts over fences and is rightfully the kind of closest to Sergino in the market.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's snapping on his heels now. This horse is magnificent. I really like him. Down the line, might not win the Arkle, but down the line, this is a Gold Cup winner down the
Yeah,
line.
I think
This
so.
is He's a big raw unit, and what he's doing right now is ridiculous. He's hanging about, looking about, logging a little bit left. He's getting any tight into a couple, but he's still quick.
Mm-hmm.
He's quick through the air. Ballyburn isn't.
Yeah, it was
He,
gaining. Yeah,
he is gaining. He lands running, and his jump at the third last is absolutely majestic. And he took them to the sword quite quickly. And you're thinking, Elite Antique, is a 2 mile horse that's soft that wants to dominate, and Marcus just scooshed past him, touched me not, not a bad horse, but he couldn't lead him long enough. He's just gone.
see the one takeaway I had from this race. The head on Gino Lappin is probably the biggest I've ever seen. Like he's massive.
Yeah,
He's.
I mean, I wasn't really watching him, to be honest with
I
you.
couldn't get my head. I couldn't get my eyes away from it. It was huge.
I mean, Firefox is boxed on third to give it.
I think he's run pretty well. I think if the Turners were still in play, like, I'm not. I don't think he's going to get a decent handicap way. But if they could get him into that kind of novice handicap, I know
I
he's
don't.
151. I thought he ran okay. Actually, he made a bad mistake at the third, and I think he ran okay after that. But I just
He's
don't think he's
shaping as if,
graded
I
like.
mean, I think he's probably another kind of found the 50 type where
Yeah,
he's got
probably.
his ceiling, and he does look limited. And a 151, I mean, I don't think he's even ranked to that. But I mean,
Nah.
I think he does need a step up and trip. But he's an okay, decent horse. That's probably about it. Touch Me Not, I thought ran well. I thought he ran more to his mark than Firefox did, and yeah, I've only got Marsh with £3 behind Sergino. That might change on Saturday, but I think he's bang there. And he is still novice, and this is the kind of thing about him. There is massive scope to improve, and you just see the scope of him, and he's logging away, and you've got to keep him interested. And at Leopardstown, they're big, stiff fences. They're stiffer and bigger than at Cheltenham, and when he meets them in a stride and gets it right, he's some sight to behold.
I'm really looking forward to the
Uh,
Apple.
well, let's hope both of them get there.
Yes, absolutely. If you didn't get a buzz out of the Irish Gold Cup, then you're in the wrong game, in my opinion. Galloping the Champs again just shows why I think I've been watching racing mid 2000s. I don't think I've seen a better chaser than Galloping the Champs, and I think it was concluded with that on Saturday. Just an excellent performance, just an excellent horse, and just a horse that I am glad in my kind of prime of being a racing fan, this is the horse that kind of highlights that period.
He's superb. I mean, he's at the front. They've taken different turns and try and tackle him the second last, and he just bats them off one by one, and again he just powers away and laughs at them from the last. I mean, I think that's his big trademark, is what he does from the last to the line all the time. He just oozes power.
He did miss a fence either. His jumping was excellent all the way through.
Something seems to be getting better
Yeah,
as it goes on. It seems to be a bit more efficient and more accurate. Yeah, he's just superb. He's a brilliant horse. Third Irish Gold Cup, Florida Pearl won 4.
yeah.
He could do that. Can he emulate Arkle best mate? It probably looks like his easiest assignment on form. in March, and just only really an act of God or misfiring could probably deny him, but he's ridiculously consistent. He's not bombed out at all in his career. Okay, he fell at Tunnels, but he had that race, won the bag, and even when he gets beat at Punchestown, he's not getting beat 20, 25 lengths out of sight. He's always on the premises. He's got a lovely routine, and he keeps wanting more. He keeps coming back for more, and for Gold Cup horses to do that in this modern day is unbelievable. It's unthinkable. He's best since Cato Star, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Like he's just, as you say, he seems to be getting better. Like his jumping seems to be getting better. The way he just, I don't think he was in any doubt at the last. I don't think anything was getting him. Just the way he just pulled that extra bit
Well,
of
it was the
fuel. It
second
just,
last because you know what he's
yeah,
going to do at the last. It's like
yeah.
between the second last and last, you think there's something going to head him here, and he just powers away. He just hugs that rail at Leopardstown the farm. He just goes whoosh, and
Yeah.
everyone just cheers. And
The roar was unbelievable. I wish I was
yeah, the
actually
olays,
there for
olays,
that.
olays
Yeah.
at the back. And you want horses to capture people's imagination outside the game, and that's what people come to watch for. Sometimes it's not a betting product at all. I mean, they're a bit like Constitution Hill as well. You're just wanting to see the superstars deliver one of those kind of classy performances, and he certainly did.
Just a word on a few of the horses in behind I wanted to get your thoughts on. Obviously, Grangeclair West, I think, ran pretty well to finish second. Obviously, just tipped off Fact to File, who we'll cover in a second. Grangeclair West is maybe an each way player in the Gold Cup. You wonder, though, as that maybe took a lot out of him. Fact to File, it seems to be Willie Mullins has done a stable tour yesterday. And the headline seems to be Fact to File. They're maybe leaning towards sending him back to the Ryanair. We'll cover a certain other horse who might be going that route as well, who I don't think was originally planned to. I just Fact to File's an interesting one because again he's ran a very good race, but he's just no match for Galloping Deschamps. And are you thinking, do we just go with him a Ryanair and try next year when he's maybe had a year more to stay? I think more it's a clue. I think I'm more convinced now that he's going to go Ryanair.
Yeah, I mean, it was further evidence, wasn't it, that
Yeah,
he's not going to beat the winner, and winning in terms of distance, he's only beaten by 5 lengths. So, and then initially Willie Mullins was kind of going, well, the plan's still the plan, and then he kind of dialed it down in his press day. So yeah, it's definitely opening the door. It might rely on Spillane Tower makes a Ryanair, for instance, and things like that. What they want to do. So, and there's only one Gold Cup, and he's going to comfortably be second favourite for it. So if something does happen, he's definitely the most likely one to pick up the pieces anyway. But he's shown more pace. John Durkin kind of proved that where that played to his strengths. This doesn't, and it's just hard to see over an extra quarter mile how he gets closer. If it's a distance, it's kind of the thing where Grangeclair West has come and beat him for second. He switched off a little bit. He's held up further. He maybe settled a little bit better. I think the only other thing they could possibly do now is go forward
yeah,
and use his jumping and try and unsettle him from the front and use that early pace to force a mistake. Now, those are the kind of team tactics that can go wrong, as we saw in Irish Champion. If you're going to do that, if you're going to take two on, hammer and tong, maybe that's something they'll try when they come back at Punchestown later on.
mm-hmm.
I can maybe see him running both of them and maybe running Fact to File a little bit forward there,
Yeah,
a track he likes, and maybe that'll work. But he wasn't a strong stay on the Brown Advisory when you look at it. He did he wasn't kind of absolutely crashing through the line.
mm-hmm.
What you'd say over track. So I mean, extra quarter mile, it might just be a bit too much for him with his inexperience at this stage of his career. So yeah, the Ryanair seems to be a logical move. The betting's telling you that. I don't think it's a 64 gimme that if he
No,
runs here he wins.
no.
And it's the kind of thing where he's not shown anything that's close to 170 in the ratings. Really, I mean, Protectorate has,
Mm-hmm.
for instance. Factifile hasn't. So I don't think it's a walk in the park if they come and take him on. So yeah, he ran well, but he's just bumped in like they all are really. I mean, there's no Jerry Colombe now. Grangeclair West ran well, but he'd have to back it up, and he tends not to. Embassy Gardens is out the season after that run, so I mean, you know how taxing it was.
What did you think? I know the way you're thinking because I thought he's obviously. I think
Grand
he's
National.
still get supplemented. I don't. I wouldn't be totally surprised if they did decide to go Gold Cup because I thought he ran pretty well here because he had a lot to do from the last, and I thought he's made up ground pretty well there.
Yeah, and he wasn't asked a great deal either.
No.
I'm a bit surprised he's not in, but if he's not running there, they might supplement him if they want to. But he's got Corbett's Cross, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
JP McManus, so maybe that's his one that he would go with. You know, he looks like. I mean, out of the ones at the top of the Grand National market, JP, he looked the obvious one to be, because he does have class and he's getting better. And avoiding a dust up in the Gold Cup beforehand looks a plus. And the trainer, Gavin Cromwell's been magnificent in laying
Yeah.
him out. And I don't think they would deviate from that plan now. Where with Iroko, they're kind of talking about deviating it.
Yeah.
They have to, I know the way you're thinking, but I think he's more of a natural fit and he can defy that weight and class. And he's got a bit of speed and he stays further given what he did in the Kim Muir, for instance, in at Aintree. So yeah, he was a big eye catcher. But yeah, it's just hard to see anyone stopping Gallop and Deschamps in the near future.
We'll just obviously cover kind of the other races on Saturday before we'll touch on the Silly Isles as well, obviously, and then we'll move into Sunday. Percival Lagawa obviously won the handicap hurdle. You had, I'm going to butcher this pronunciation, Anne Pandarg won the handicap chase. I think there's maybe a couple in here for a Grand Annual, and I don't think there's much in the bumper. I thought Sortudo ran a good race. On, I think, at the 20s for the champion bumper. I thought he's ran pretty well. What do you think of the kind of other three races in the Saturday for the DRF?
Bumper was woeful.
Yeah, I would agree.
Nothing in that. The Ryanair chase was okay. My mate Mozzie probably was the eye catcher in that.
My mate Mozzie, and I thought Don't Go Yet was maybe potential a Grand Annual player. If they can, I know he's 1, 2, 3, but if they can maybe get him up.
He's 11.
Mm,
He'd probably do well to I
yeah.
quite like Midnight It Is in that race, and he was found coughing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he was third in race earlier on a couple of weeks ago, maybe that was kind of too soon, but I thought he was like when Pathway was second. And the King of PRs was first. It was a Cromwell 1, 2, 3. I thought he was the one that would improve going left-handed. I was a bit surprised he ran him quickly at Leopardstown. I thought he would be their Grand Annual horse.
Mm-hmm.
Coughing could be absolutely fine, and he might be fine down the line if he certainly get time to recover him. But I mean, I thought he was top of my Cromwell list for it. It might be Patherou's turn. I think they're actually targeting the novice handicap with Patheroux actually. So,
Okay.
but yeah, I thought Midnight It Is. He might be worth another chance if he's drifting the market too much. I think it's about 16s. I wouldn't write him off, but I think at this stage, handicap wise, you've got to be a bit mindful of backing an Irish horse now because they're going to get you extra weight that might knock them out
Yeah.
bands. It's getting harder for them to qualify, so there's less of them that are going to be ridiculously unexposed. And unless you've spotted one, I don't really see the appeal of going in now. I think it might as well wait to the entries and see. I think if you're backing a handicap horse right now, I think it should be British.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in an
I'm
open
not.
handicap,
I'm not a novice.
like maybe like the Pertomps or something, where the criteria. I mean, the way they move the goalposts, I mean, it's 3 runs for one race, 5 runs
Yeah.
for the other, 4 runs for a race. Sometimes it's 4 runs for a novice. Sometimes it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so ridiculous that, to be honest, I don't care looking at it anymore. You just look at non-runner bet and think, oh, that might be that, and then you've got to Google it, see if it qualifies, and then you're kind of back piecing the form together, and then all of a sudden the price is going 16 into 10s. It's an absolute waste of time at the moment. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's ruining it. So at the moment, handicaps, I would just keep compiling your short lists. You'll get
Yeah.
extra places and you'll get similar prices closer to the off, and you'll know a lot more about things than the
We'll
way.
move. We'll move into the Silly Isles at Sandown again. Like the Silly Isles sometimes gets a bit lost in the shuffle because of how busy Dublin is. But bad week for Ben Paul and obviously with the jukebox man. But handstands won here, beat obviously Django Bay. It was a photo finish. What do you think here? Like Django Bay, I think's a horse we both maybe liked, and I think obviously with the bad news about jukebox man, Django Bay was probably the one you were thinking might be the British contender in the Brown Advisory. But I think obviously it's good for handstands for Ben Pollen to still have a novice chaser and win another Grade One. But I don't know if this is a Cheltenham. I don't know if we're going to learn much for Cheltenham with this. Do
Oh, I
you?
think they're both Aintree horses, aren't they? I think
Mm,
they're both going to Aintree. And I've already had that vibe between Jinko Blue and Django Bay that the plan seemed to be Aintree with them. I mean, they don't really kind of fit in. Jinko Blue maybe for a Brown Advisory, but I think Django Bay's probably more talented. And he ultimately got outstayed here on the line. You know, he absolutely breezed into it between the second and the last.
yeah.
Personally, I would expect Nico de Boinville to win from there.
Hmm.
I think he had enough horse. I don't think he got organised. I don't think he was rhythmic enough. I don't think he was strong enough. And I thought he should have won.
Okay.
But handstands battled hard really well. Take nothing away from the winner, and strong credit to Ben Pauling here because he could deviate the plan and think, well, I'll run him the Brown Advisory and I'll risk it with my other horse gone, but he won't. So that's good, strong, disciplined training, I think. And he's improved into hitting that 150 bracket, and he's a hardy horse that I think can get 3 miles. And he's won a Grade 2, now he's won a Grade 1, and now can he win a Grade 1 in a spring festival? And having time to overcome that is no bad thing. And yeah, and Django Bay will probably go to the manifesto, the 2 mile 4 race, and I'd imagine handstands might go for the 3 miler, because I think ultimately the difference was stamina, even though I wasn't happy with the ride that the second got.
We'll move into Sunday at Leopardstown. Let's start with the Ladbrokes and obviously Chase. Ballyburn won and is now 94 for the Brown Advisory. I think we're going to disagree on this slightly because, like, I think he showed that he can stay. I think there are holes to pick in it. But I think if you're wanting him to be a Brown Advisory horse, I think he's shown enough here.
Yeah, well, I mean, he's definitely got a leading chance in it. I mean, I just wasn't impressed by him. You know, I get wow factors from Sergio Margeborough. I don't get it with him. Um, the second favourite has never travelled a yard and has got
No.
within 10 lengths. Croke
Jump's
Park is
atrocious. Croke
Croke
Park,
Park's
I'm not
okay.
ruling Croke Park out of Brown Advisory, by the way, because I know I've tipped him up for the Drinmore, but what he's done since then has been very, very impressive.
He's a horse that I'm just not impressed by. Yeah, I think he's efficient. I think he's okay. I think it's okay. That's all I think about it. You know, I mean, Ballyburn was always winning that race. You know, he was out handy. He was at the front. You know, he doesn't make any ground up in the air at all. Third last, he was really slow,
It's still very keen as well.
and second last, he was pretty slow again. And then the last, Croke Park's upsides and out jumps him again.
Mm-hmm.
I know, okay, he's an efficient jumper, but I mean, he's won 2 pretty soft Grade 1s. That's mid 140 form to me. Even if you think Croke Park's elevated to 150, which I think he probably has, and we'll give him some credit because he keeps turning up and he doesn't put a foot wrong and he's reliable. But I think Better Days Ahead would beat him as comfortably as Ballyburn did. I think Dancing City would. I just think Ballyburn, he does have potential. He is getting better, and he does have that strong back class hurdling form. I don't think he's met it yet over fences. I don't think he's got close to it. But that Sergino form, Kempton looks a lot better probably than it did on face value.
Well, can I club that Dancing City in with this, obviously, because Dancing City won the week before, and I think there's about 7-2. Like, what was like Dancing City is obviously just going by what I've spoke to you about kind of off air and things like that. I think you're leaning towards Dancing City. Is it the jumping you think's better? Is it because I think Dancing City, the one thing that's impressed me is his jumping.
Well, the problem is the one horse that I would back without a shadow of doubt in this race is now out in the jukebox, man, because I
Right.
think you
Okay.
jump him silly.
Yeah.
I think he's got quality. He can stay, and he's jumping would put him under pressure. Now, Dancing City, his jumping would not put Ballyburn under pressure. It's decent. It's a bit like Croke Park's jumping.
Yeah.
He will make ground in the air, but he doesn't have the class of Ballyburn. And it's shaping up to be a Brown Advisory where I'm unenthused by it, and I still think the favourite will win, and he'll probably go shorter. But I don't think he'll be great in it. I can see him labouring around like Monkfish and winning because he's just the classiest horse in it. But I don't think he's a natural. I've got him in 154, and that's still the best number coming into this. There are threats, and something could progress from nowhere. I mean, Better Days Ahead probably looks the obvious one at Navan, but I mean,
They seem to be very confident that Lecky Watson's better than what he's shown as well.
and Lecky Watson's dangerous, and I think Kai de Bourbon still has a future
Yeah,
over it if he puts it all together. But the thing is, Paul Townend will ride Ballyburn,
I don't think there's any way he won't. Right,
that makes a big difference. I think Dancing City to have a chance, you probably want Bottomless Crown because the race that he won when he beat Bioluminescence, that's the kind of race that Willie Mullins uses for his National Hunt Chase horse.
That's what I thought as well. I was like, if the National Hunt Chase was still a thing, he'd be probably
Well,
going that route.
he'd be odds on for that right
Yeah,
now, wouldn't he? But we know how good those horses can be, and some of them can still win RSAs if it gets attritional. Don Polly probably the classic example of a slow
yeah.
horse winning it. Santini going ridiculously close. So yeah, it's every kind of betting instinct says take on Ballyburn for me, but he will improve from that, and he's already holding the aces on figures. And I think his jumping is probably getting better. And they did say they've done a lot of schooling with him, and it did kind of show to a degree.
Yeah.
But he's not quick over them, and it's for all Croke Park. He's a solid, hardy horse. Should he be taking half a length pretty much all the time out of him?
Well, you've said something interesting before. You said Marsborough looks a Gold Cup winner. Who like
Marsborough?
Yeah, Marsborough. But you would have last year. You'd have been astonished to say that Ballyburn's not going to be a Gold Cup winner. Right?
I don't think so. I mean, just because he's clear novice hurdles. I mean, people in Perry Pass was well clear. It's a novice hurdler. They get found out. Gaelic Warrior. Sometimes you get to open company. Sometimes you get to open company, and you start to get found out a little bit.
Yeah.
And you find your ceiling, and that's a good thing with Ballyburn. Is I don't think you're finding his ceiling yet. I just wonder if he's translating that high hurdle form into what he's doing in fences. I don't think he is yet.
Well, let's move into a horse that I think could be quite special. We'll move into Kopek the Board, who put in a serious performance to win the Tattersalls Novice Hurdle. Now is short to as 5-4 for the Supreme. Ted Walsh has said the best performance he's seen since Golden Signet in the Supreme. It was special. It was
very good.
Awesome. Like for a horse that we knew the engine was there, the jumping was the worry. There was two very impressive things in this race. The first one was what happened when he nearly got hampered by a loose horse, and just how easy he was going to the line. Like again, you can maybe argue what's in behind, but I think in terms of performance, it was special and rightfully Supreme favourite. And unless Willie Mullins does a switcheroo, Supreme winner.
Yeah, I don't think he will. I think that's pretty nailed down. When he has early press meetings for Cheltenham like that, I think his plans seem to be pretty concrete. And yeah, he's obviously shown raw ability in his first start to just win after bungling everything, but a bit of schooling, a bit of perking up. The money crashed into him pretty much all weekend, and there was never a second doubt really. I know he was keen, I know he's fierce, and jockeys in behind saying he can't keep going. He more than did, and the thing is, if you're going to cram him against Cheltenham, are the preliminaries going to get even worse when he's at Cheltenham because it's it's a much bigger amphitheatre and it's the first race. But he was pretty much over the top at Leopardstown anyway, and it didn't stop him. So even if he does get too fizzy, he's probably good enough to get away with it.
Mm-hmm.
And it was comfortable mid 150s form, I think. I mean, I thought Carnegie ran to his mark at least.
Official rating of 157.
Yeah, 157. Yeah, well, I wouldn't go that far yet. But, I mean, I think it was over 155 maybe or something like that. He's bang there, and he'd probably almost be bang there in the champion hurdle if it were an experience, It was
the jumping because like the first. Patrick Mullins said, I don't know if you heard this. Patrick Mullins said that he thought, because I think Patrick Mullins rode him the day that he maiden. He said he think he maybe tweaked something at the first, and that's what led to his jumping. His jumping was pretty much spotless here.
Very good. Then he was hampered, and then it didn't bother him. But he's just rapid. He was quick. It was a no nonsense ride. A no nonsense ride from him. It was very impressive. And they win by 13 lengths, and I think the third, the Good and Clever's a decent horse.
Yeah.
You know, I thought he ran to 130, you know, in the Formby behind Porter's Charm. And if you account that he's ran maybe £5 below that,
Yeah.
you've got to give Kopeck the board, you know, 150 plus. Actually, looking at the figures here, I've given 152, but you know, the thing is that we can harness that energy. There's so much potential for more. You'd imagine he'd be chasing down the line, but yeah, he holds all the aces in the Supreme, and I think even money. I don't think they'll go off much shorter than that.
I think the interesting
For
thing as
me.
well is obviously that they were very confident about Salvatore Monday, and now just but by no fault of Salvatore Monday's own, he's just kind of been lost in the shuffle now, and he's kind of probably where he should be in the market. But you can't like the one thing that's interesting is that Willie Mullins hasn't won the Supreme in the last 3 years. I think the last winner he had was Appreciate. It was 2021. But he's won the Turners the 3 years after that. He's won it with obviously he went with Sir Gerhard and Ballyburn, who came from this race. So that kind of gave you a wee thought, does he maybe go Turners here and then put Final Demand Albert Bartlett? But I will be very surprised if he hasn't looked at this and thought he always what is it he always says 2 miles until they've shown that they can't go 2 miles. I think that it's very, very likely he goes for the Supreme. And I don't think the Supreme's a great race. I don't think he's going to be under a lot of trouble here.
Well, that's why he's a lot shorter than Final Demand, isn't it? It's a weaker race in behind at the moment. But I mean, Romeo Coolio's solid. Salvador Monday, don't know how good he is. Could put it all together, you know, if he gets a strong pace. That's going to help him. Romeo Coolio's going to be ridden handy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, work ahead, and Henry de Bromhead could come up, you know, and then
Yeah,
you've probably got a few Mullins sleepers in behind. There are a couple that are maybe okay. But yeah, it was just a case of all about the winner. He's going to be a warm order, and you'll have four kind of really short ones at the start of day one. You know, again, with Sergino, Constitution Hill, Brightly's ahead. Might go will probably go Mayors now as it stands, and Kopek to board. You know, that's probably going to be your big favourite muggy Aka in day one that's there, and you'd be surprised if Kopek the board let you down. You know, and he won it with a really fizzy type and Classical Dream, which was a 5-year-old. So I mean, it can be done, but he's probably good £8 to £10 clear of the rest, and is his temperament going to let him down in that regard? Well, probably not, because he showed some there and still did that.
yeah.
Yeah, and he could even improve even further, because the way he's kind of hit the line as well was ridiculous after what he kind of did. So yeah, it was an unbelievable performance. I think it was a pound for pound. I think it was
Nah, I think it was the
the
best.
best of the weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get into a race, the Dublin Chase. I'm just going to read a tweet that you put out seconds after the race, and it kind of sums up what happened here. Had about 20 horses bunched up going over the last in a 4 mile, 2 furlong Grand National. In top 2 mile chases, however, they are as stressed out as washing really early on. Bizarre spectacle. And that sums up this race. Because try and analyse this.
Yeah, I think you can count in one hand how many conventional 2 mile grade ones we've seen in recent seasons.
Yeah.
Um, and Solness just kind of went out, broke them from the front. You know, he's done pretty much exactly what he did in Christmas. And I think that's a big surprise for punters, is that, you know, this happened again. You know, a bit like when Frodon won a Ryanair and said, well, they're not going to do that in the King George and just let them go in front, things like that.
Yeah.
But then there's a pace angle when LA Francais did it, for instance. They couldn't go that pace. He's got 2 mile pace, and he stays 3 miles. So he's broken from the front, and it's just not great in behind, is it? I mean, Mini National's closed quite well, and you can maybe make a case that you can turn it round in the champion chase. But the winner's probably improved. You know, he's hit 160 probably, run to his mark, and he's improving one. And if you look at the champion chase figure, field in behind, you know, Captain Guinness won it last year. You know, it's maybe right that some sort of younger
Yeah.
improver from the handicap ranks has come in and started doing this a little bit, and has shown a bit of an actual 2 mile speed. And yeah, he was just faster when it mattered. He got a breather in between the third and second last, and that's what seen him hold on. I do think a lot of them could have been closer, but I mean, you've got such a warm favourite in Gaelic Warrior there that's maybe not going and maybe not quick enough to do that, and the rest of the field are probably a bit more mindful of the favourite than Solness.
Well, the
I think
one
that
thing
gives them an excuse.
I was going to get your thoughts on Gaelic Warrior because there was points in that race where you thought he's going to pull up here, and then at the end you're thinking he's a Ryanair horse. Like it was a baffling. Like I know he doesn't like Leopardstown, right? And we see that he jumped right at a few fences, but there's not many horses who looked so out of it at what three, kind of the fifth fence, and then finishes the way he does. Like he's only beaten. I know he's only beaten 14 lengths, but there was if he'd pulled up, you were thinking, right, there's something no right here. Like
Yeah,
it was a weird run from Gaelic Warrior.
but that's what he's like. He's weird
Yeah,
and he's awkward. He's ungainly. It's hard to trust. He's one of those horses where when you don't back him, he'll win.
yeah.
When you do, he'll let you down. Maybe horses like that should just begin to just steer clear. But the ground was quick. It's at Leopardstown. It's not his bag. I was just expecting him to improve from Christmas, and he didn't. To be, and that would be more of a concern to me. I'm wondering if he's just finding his level here. He's a mid-150s horse. That's it. He won an Arkle. He's been on the go since 4. He's not improving. The ground is a big factor because I think he's different and soft, and the track as well, and he might be a bit better. But I wouldn't be backing him for anything at the festival. He's too short for a start, and there's a lot of evidence that he's unreliable and
Mm-hmm.
he's getting found out. I was expecting a lot more than that from him, to be honest.
And then, like I think, like El Fabiolo, obviously there was a lot of money came for El Fabiolo, and he's the one thing that people always threw at El Fabiolo before the champion chase last year was yes, he looks as if he's got a mistake in him, but he's always getting over his fences. And now you're just waiting for him to fall or make a mistake, and it's just very, very weird what's happened there. And they're
Yeah.
still, I don't know what, like, there was chat all week that he wasn't running. Then he ends up running, goes off as short as 3-1, falls at the second. Thankfully, he's up. And then they're talking about the red mills for him. Like, he's another one who I think he's a better horse than Gaelic Warrior, but you just couldn't back him. You just couldn't have confidence in him anymore.
I mean, he's been out all season, and it's a hard race to just get a parachute in and then expect to run. And the money came from him, so you'd think fitness wise he'd forward, but he had a back issue,
Yeah.
champion chase, and he's had another dent in his confidence there. And I think Red Mill's a good idea. You need a run into him to back him at Cheltenham. You need to see him complete. You need to see that sparkle there a little bit to have any faith in him. But yeah, I wouldn't categorically rule him out. But I mean, again, is he another that wants 2.5?
Yeah, well, they seem to be suggesting Ryanair. You're looking at this thinking Gamine. I know, obviously, he's been well beat with John
He's
Bond,
the
but
one that he's the one that's guaranteed to be
and
representing him.
you know he's better at Cheltenham, so you're kind of thinking Gamine's the one out of the 3 Mullins horses who's come away with the most kind of encouragement. And I wouldn't rule out maybe if they send maybe Dino Blue here.
Well, they
And
won't. She's in the opera hat, and the male chases a plan, so they're definitely not deviating that. And she's shown nothing all season. So it's been an odd little division, and that's why John Bond is hardened into odds on, and you
it's
can't
the
really
one
grumble.
race that I am very, very sure I won't be having a bet in until the day. Like,
Yeah, probably. I mean, probably have to side with John Bond at the moment. It just feels like it's his time, doesn't it? 9-year-olds have a good record in it recently. He's that kind of horse where it's beginning to align for him. I mean, it aligns for a lot of
mhm.
horses here, and they don't deliver for some reason. So it's a funny division. It's a funny race, and when you belt one, you're beat. And if you're not travelling from the off, you're beat. Mistakes are magnified in 2 mile chases at that level, and that's why you see so many oddly run races and strange results. So, I mean, Solness probably shouldn't be discounted at 12-1 the price he is from the front. Ellie Francis probably a pace curveball there, and John Bond probably has a higher cruising speed, and that'll help his aggressive style to sit in behind. But yeah, I think and Marie National, is consistently getting a little bit better all season, so he could take another step forward. But I think you'd want to know who's in the race, what's the tactical makeup, and definitely the ground, because Gaelic Warrior is unbackable if it's not. It needs to be soft for it. I think it needs to be soft for Willie Mullins horse to win this. Definitely. Energy needs it soft. Gaelic Warrior definitely needs it soft. Um, And El Fabiolo probably needs it soft as well, given what's happened to him. If he takes his chance, and I mean, he could parachute into the Ryanair with Facts Filing. He could have more runners than the Ryanair than the Champion Chase this year.
We'll move into the final Grade 1, the Irish Champion Hurdle. Stateman makes it 3 Champion Hurdles in Ireland. Obviously, Lossiemouth fell 4 out. I think we were just getting to find out what was going to happen here. Patrick Mullins made a very interesting point in an interview. I think it was the same interview where he mentioned about Kopek de Boards jumping at Christmas, where he said if this had went on, these two would have taken each other on, and it would have probably meant both of them would have been kind of destroyed going into Cheltenham. I think he's right.
I think he'd been right with Stateman. I don't think it would have been right for Lossiemouth because Lossiemouth's got excess stamina and she has to be sharpened up. So I think she might be a bit more durable in that regard. I backed Lossiemouth. I was pretty happy. If you were in Stateman, I don't think you'd be unhappy either. So, I mean, it was just developing, wasn't it, when she just absolutely ploughed through it.
It was one of those, like I know obviously with the Galloping Deschamps, there was a lot like encouragement, and then just when Lossiemouth fell the next day, you were just like, oh. It was just that when it just deflated. You were like, oh, this could be quite.
Well, when any top class horse crashes out like that, it is deflating. I mean, they're there to be jumped, and she's just ploughed through it. I thought Danny Mullins, when a race is going from nothing to something like that, I didn't think there was much reason for him to boot her into it like that. To be honest, I think she's kind of going right. Okay, let's assert now and go. But they went hammer and tong, and it was definitely the day to ascertain who is going to be our number one to challenge Constitution Hill. Didn't get a definitive answer. By default, I think Paul Tennant will stick with Stateman, even though I think he wouldn't have won. I know it was way too far out to be conclusive about it, but I think Lossiemouth would have beaten him. He's won by 6.5 lengths. Okay, he's pulled himself up at the line, and I actually think he was looking around. I mean, I think he was just nursing him home. To be honest, at the end of it, I think he might have done something a little bit.
The fact that Daddy Longlegs, I think the fact that Daddy Longlegs has got to within 6.5 lengths now, he's obviously ran on quite well, but Stateman just kind of lobbied home. Like I know, I obviously had nothing to beat.
But to do. I mean, you're guessing at that, but I thought they might have had a wee kind of niggle or something like that in trying not because of the race, but I think maybe in avoiding Lossiemouth because it was quite a start little jump that he did.
Yeah,
and he was certainly kind of looking around, looking about a little bit, and he kind of said, I think he's kind of halfway in the comeback trail. I think he was probably going to run to what he did against Brighter Days Ahead the first time around. And you think at a push, I think he could run to 160. At a push, I think Lossiemouth can run to 160 at the moment. And Constitution Hill hasn't had to run past 160 this year, but we know he can run into the mid 170s.
Do you think Lossiemouth still goes champion hurdle after this?
Well, that's the plan, and I think Willie Mullins is relishing it. I think he's going to relish a challenge of getting her back and trying to close down Constitution Hill. It's been the plan for 2 years, he says, and they're sticking with it. He had his press day immediately after it, which Lossiemouth was part of and wasn't part of the parade. She was part of the parade, she was there, she was pictured.
Looked okay.
Looked fine. I mean, it was Duke Dive, it was a big fright, but it's okay, physically and still doing work. So, I mean, that's a plus in itself. It's probably why she's not out as much as she is to 5-1, but yeah, if somebody said have a pop at Lossiemouth at 5-1 right now, maybe non-runner no bet, maybe 4 or something like that, I don't think that's bad because Brighter Days Ahead seems to be increasingly the dial is going towards mares with her. And Lossiemouth, there's a bit of hope there. She's unknown quantity in terms of taking on Constitution Hill. I know she's been beaten 2.5 lengths, but Kempton seemed to be a bit unsuitable. She's going to get at least a lot closer to Constitution Hill than Stateman will, I think. The big question I think is can Constitution Hill run into the mid 160s, high 160s again, and be half a stone off his best? Because I think if he does, he will win.
Right. So we'll move into the kind of other meetings, the other races at the meeting. Obviously, we had Vecchio win the Mayor's Handicap hurdle. You then had Back to Normal win the handicap chase. He's just been ruled out for the season
Yeah.
after that. McClory, I thought was I thought was a couple eye catchers in the 2 mile race potentially, and I thought Bambino Fever was pretty good in the Mayor's Flat race. Is there anything out of those four, maybe potential handicap players that you liked for future?
McClory was the obvious one. I think
Yeah.
I think he'd even do better up in trip. I don't think he's a
Yeah.
county hurdle horse. I think he's a 2.5 miler. I think he won in spite of that. And it's clever campaigning because if
Mm-hmm.
you have such a base rating, then you've got you just give yourself extra rope to kind of work out where you want to be come spring. You know what's workable, so you can have this kind of rapid improvement, and it's pretty hard to question. So I think he was definitely the one. Stormheart was an eye catcher, but £7, a big old hike for that. And I suppose Bambino Fever was better than the Mayor's than the other bumper on the Saturday. I think out of the top three in the market, though, Calypso Chance and Win Beneath the Wings, I think she's the worst value in there.
Yeah. And
I
we
would,
know that won't be a Patrick Mullins ride because I think it's 10 stone 12 and he won't be able to make it. So I'd imagine Jodie Townend maybe keeps the ride on her.
yeah, she might keep the ride. Professionals who can ride it, can't they, if
Yeah.
they want to? So I mean, that's the other angle there. So I mean, you could, like any De Bromley's got it. So I mean, Rachel Blackmore could be on it or something, for instance, which is certainly no bad thing. So yeah, but I didn't really see much in the handicap chase. Um, So yeah, that was probably about it. I think Kuala I think's interesting. There was a race, and I don't think it's at
She's going to
Cheltenham.
win something eventually. She's going to.
Yeah,
I thought
eventually she's going to start.
Stormheart, I thought was a big eye catcher as well. I think he's potentially.
Yes, again, the second, but £7 hike for
Mm,
that. He might show his hand a little bit, and that British handicapper's going to add 4 or 5
yeah.
anyway. So you're effectively going up a stone for an eye catching run.
Mm-hmm.
Second, £10 at least. So yeah, that's difficult. Yeah, I mean, there'll be plenty of kind of cats in behind. I just think it's kind of compile your kind of shortlist time for the handicaps. You won't have long to wait for entries and things like that, and you get more of an inclination of marrying them up.
Did obviously as well with Scottish Trials weekend, did you see anything at Musselburgh maybe with a clue to the future?
I liked Intense Approach a lot in the stairs. I really did. And he's mid 130s horse, and I thought he was a better the weekend by a mile. He opened up 2-1, and he should have been 1-2. I mean, I couldn't believe it. And he went off 5-4. That was a one way or there. You can just get the wheelbar out and deal with
Yeah.
that. If you're having one bet all across the whole weekend, it was him, and he won it easily. They went up with your Balanced lad, who was third in the battle at Streets of Doyen, was third in the battle for John McConnell. He'll need good ground if he gets it, and if it cuts up at the top of the market. There's worse bets around than backing him at 20-25 to 1 now, but Bartlett's one of the few races where you can back something with confidence at a price. I mean, Fishery Lane's one that I backed at 50s, and now he's 25s. Wouldn't back him at 25s, but backed him early in the week. I would have put him up this week, but the price had gone quite quickly. If it doesn't take much for prices to be wildly cut now. But I mean, I think a lot of people were looking by default, saying, "Okay, where's a Cheltenham race we can look at that's not, obvious favourite, at the front that you can take on." And Albert Bartlett was one of them, even though the Big Wessel would merit favouritism there if the top two defect and go with the tunnels. I thought he was good. I pulled away from the last quite well. There was a couple of decent 120 Northern horses up there that he brushed aside,
Mm-hmm.
and he was readily the easy winner. The Per Tomp qualifier looked deep initially. Maybe didn't quite pan out that way, but I thought Red Risk run a mighty race for a 10-year-old with Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden, where he kind of stalked them out wide. He was a little bit far back, got out pace when the race developed 2 out, and then stayed on again, only get beat by 3.5 lengths. He's well weighted. He's likely race for a 10-year-old. They qualified Montmoral really late for this last year. They've done it again here where
Yeah.
horses get good back class. Um, and he goes well fresh after the break, and he's back to his 136 now. He's back off to his last winning mark. He was midfield in the Coral Cup. It was too short from. and he was £11 higher at 40-1. I think he's more interesting this year around. He's 40-50 bracket. That's tempting. I know the wall part of class in front, but you would give him £16, and the handicapper could still come back and reassess him, and he could go stairs. Probably won't, but I thought he was interesting at 40-50 go back, mulling over pulling the trigger on him a little bit. But there's the last pair top qualifier at Exeter next week on the Sunday that you can kind of sit back and evaluate things there. But I thought he was an eye catcher. And Tripoli Flyer won quite well despite jumping deplorably. I think he's going to take his chance in the Supreme, which would be interesting. But I don't think his jumping is slick enough, and it isn't at the level. But I hope he runs well for the yard, because he was a short one that the crowd seemed to be happy that came in.
We'll move into what's coming up this weekend. We still have some very interesting racing with potential superstars running as well. We'll start at Newbury with the 225, the Denman Chase. Braveman's Game leads the market 2-1. Obviously, we do have declarations here. Jello 7-2, obviously in the comeback after losing at Windsor. Hitman's in here, Le Patron, Gallo. Braveman's Game's 2-1. I don't know if I would be on him at that. Jello, I think, is interesting though on the comeback trail. The Williams form seems to be okay. It's not like I mean they're 22% at the moment, but I think Braveman's Game at 2-1 is a big risk for me.
Yeah, it's kind of the main sign of a horrible race, isn't it? It's happy. It doesn't hold much betting appeal, and there's a lot of these that have got a lot to prove, and he's top of the list. He looks to be regressing to me, and he's won over course and distance. This might be his grade, this might be his time, but 2-1's plenty short enough. Jello's in the comeback trail. He's going up and trip. The yard are flickering into life a little bit, but he was hammered by Protectorate quite emphatically. He's got to give weight around to all of these as well. Bit surprised of going close to 3 miles here already with him. I think he showed plenty of boot at Huntingdon, right-handed. I just wonder if this is a bit too stiff for him at this point. Patch runs okay, but he ran badly the last day. Gallo's a handicapper. He could run well. He'll be honest enough that he'll be in the frame. He's interesting. Fugitive Felder, Sam Brown wouldn't be for me, and I'm drawing criminally for my sins to Hitman for some reason.
Okay.
I know he doesn't win. He's 4 from 25 in his career, but he was second last twice in this. Once to Shishkin, and the other to course specialist Sansa, and he had Protectorate in behind that year. And he was coming to win his race the last time, and again he missed the last, and that kind of exaggerated his losing distance. But you can kind of see him maybe beaten by half a length, but at least he's running well and running credibly, and he shapes as if he'll give you a run for your money.
Mm-hmm.
And he's at least he's in that 11-2, 6-1 bracket where he's not kind of 2-1. Freddie Ginger will have to be clever and play it fast and late, but he can do that. I don't really see it much of a negative there. In the end, it's a 9-year-old, and I remember Secret Investor turning over Clan de Obo in this, so the second strings can win it, and it's a race where that kind of type of horse can just pop up and win.
Yeah.
And I think a token interest maybe at 6s, and he could do it. If he bumps into one and gets out battled, he gets out battled. But if he comes alongside Braveman's Game, they can both equally kind of be culpable in the finish as well. So and Hitman's just running a little bit better than him. So his last run was good, and he was giving away lumps of weight. You know he's going to travel there, and he's going to give you a spin. He's going to breeze up there and go easily 2 out. He's going to be travelling the best. I think he could even travel better than Braveman's Game in this. It's just whether he lasts home. But there's no Shishkin in it this year, things like that. So he's just about the percentage call at the prices for me.
Let's move into the 3 o'clock. I'm really excited with this. We have the return of Sergino. Big confidence to put him in an open company. Not something Nicky Henderson hasn't done before. He's 4-7 here. Matata, we know what Matata will do from the front. Edward Stone's in here, obviously won it last year. I'm just excited to see Sergino, and the fact that they're looking at putting him in the open company tells you they think he's that class already. And just hopefully makes it, wins, and goes on to the Arkle.
Yeah, did it with Sprinter, did it with Altior.
Yeah.
The one thing I would say is that Altior put in a mega performance in this
This was Altior's best jump, best display, I would say.
on debut.
Yeah.
Well, as a novice at open season, and he won by 13 lengths. He beat Fox Norton. Fox Norton was ahead second in the champion chase, the special tiara that year.
Yeah.
Altior, though, he didn't really back that up fully in the Arkle. As you remember, I mean, Sharbo was,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it
was
was.
front,
Yeah, that's right.
throughout and back out and travelling as easily. And Kim Bailey was quite confident would win that day.
Mm-hmm.
I think Altior, the way he powered up the hill and the turbo kicked in, made it pretty comfortably anyway. He beat Cloudy Dream by 5 or 6 lengths or so. It wasn't really that much in doubt. But I'd be mindful here if he puts up a really, really big performance, that it might just leave a little mark for Cheltenham. And there is a horse, Barnsborough, that would take advantage of that if there was. But that's all bye. I mean, with a view for Cheltenham, I'd rather see him maybe dig it out and give something to work on and win by 3 or 4 lengths rather than being absolutely wow, win by 13, 15 lengths half the track kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it depends. It depends, but that's the thing. He's got to deal with this first. It's he's got low 160 horses and he's hit that rating already, so that potential. So Matata's good, Errolson's good, Liberty Hunter's interesting. Master 2 and GPR1. They're all decent.
It's a decent race. Yeah, it's like
They're all decent horses. It is the kind of the best out with the novices here, out with John Bond certainly that have all turned up from Britain. So and on raw figures at the moment, he wouldn't have much in hand from there. That's why he opened up, I think, really short 40-11, and you can get 1 to 2 in places. So it's going to be quite the race. It's going to be quite the test for him. I expect him to win. I think he's too talented not to. I think GPR1 might represent some value at 25 out with the two if you're looking for kind of a forecast option. He can stay further. He's a bit wrong in the weights of the rest. But, he's young and proven. He's had a decent little break. The Tizard team seem to be informing. He might be the one that's primed to be second here. Well, Matata had a hard race at Windsor. It'll be hard to go again from the front there. Front runners could be picked off. Errolson's reliable, but he's not getting any better. It's Liberty Hunter. He's drifting the market a little bit. The ground might dry out a little bit as well. And they might kind of just leave him alone slightly for a Grand Annual instead. The Twist and Davis here haven't quite fired either yet. So GPR1 might be a little bit of value just for people with a betting interest and without perhaps.
Well, let's move in to one of the hottest handicap hurdles of the season, formerly the Betfair hurdle, now the William Hill handicap hurdle. And we have, it's usually a good kind of pointer towards Cheltenham. We've got Secret Squirrel leading the market 11 to 2. You've got Joyous in here. You've got Navajo Indy, Favouring Fortune. One I quite like at a price, who's been over to Ireland and won a handicap hurdle and is still, I think, fairly decent at 133, and that is Washington. I think it's got a good chance here.
Yeah, you could place. I mean, the thing is, he's 9, isn't it? And this always goes to young, unexposed horses. 6 and 7-year-olds always plunder this. I thought at the top of the market, I thought Navajo Indy had a big chance. That big eye catcher by Secret Squirrel at Windsor went 4th, where he kind of was given an odd ride from the back. I think probably a bit handier, more conventional track. His form at Newbury is brilliant. It's rock solid. And he's off a nice weight here of a workable mark at 128. 8 to 1, 15 to 2, 8 to 1 each way. I think he's a solid, reasonable play. I can't really see him out the frame a little bit. I just hope it doesn't dry out too much for him.
Yeah, we'll move into Warwick. We've got the Kingmaker Novices Chase. We might see another nice novice in the form of Lotus Sud, 2 to 7. Probably not a backable price, but you'd fully expect him to get the job done here and continues impressive form.
Yeah, 4-runner race. It's fallen asunder a little bit. Rubo fell the last day. Not a bad horse in behind ratings, and he gets £5. So you could make an argument that it should be a little bit tight in the market, but this has been the plan. Lotus Sud, he's looked good. He jumps quite well, and I don't see any. Dan Skelton's local track's pretty much Warwick, isn't it? So I mean, you'd expect him to wouldn't expect any kind of mistakes here. I think he'll win, and I think I think he'll probably cement his place as third favourite in behind. I mean, they'll go hard in the Arkle, and that'll suit him, and he's got Cheltenham form, so yeah, he's going to run well off the pace and see what happens. If anything happens, he could pick up the pieces slightly. So yeah, I'd expect him to win, and hopefully he can add another layer of intrigue to the Arkle.
We will move into the next race at Warwick. We've got the Mares Hurdle. Is there a forgotten horse in the potential Mares Hurdle market in the form of Galamasso? She's been declared. We don't know who's on her yet, though. I imagine maybe Brian Hayes or Danny Mullins comes over, but she's in here at 64. You've got West Balboa at 2-1. You wear it well. Finally coming back over hurdles at 9-2. Probably not an amazing race, but there's certainly, again, in a weak Mares Hurdle division, something could come out here and potentially kind of go quite high in the market.
Yeah, I mean, they've all got different things to prove, haven't they? The market looks probably correct. No, Galamaso's got the most potential. She's still the highest rated. I haven't seen her since second Punchestown, which was a decent run. The hood will be on, and you'd like to think that they won't make the same mistake with Kirghiz early in the season and leave her too short. They'd be vulnerable for this. West Balboa's look to be slightly in the downgrade. I wonder if there's a kind of a handicap plan with her of 138 this year, and she won the Lanzarote back a few years ago. She's coasting distance form. Maybe this is the plan, but I don't really see it at the weights. You wear it well, reverting back to hurling's a good move. Probably needs entitled to kind of need the run for a little bit of a confidence boost. You'd be a bit surprised if she won, and she's given £4 away as well. So looks between the top two. And I would lean towards Galamasso, but if she's not fit enough and she's too fresh, which she is guilty of anyway before, she might be a bit vulnerable. But 64, again, it's on the skinny side, but what isn't, she tends to run reasonably well fresh. She did get turned over at Doncaster, though, this time last year. Ashrow Diamond beat her.
Yeah.
And under control did. I don't think it's quite that race. It's usually Danny Mullins. It's usually on her. I don't know what the situation is with him after the Lossiemouth Fog, so it's all a little bit on the air. You just kind of assess final things on the day. 64 looks about right. I wouldn't be backing it. I wouldn't be laying it at the moment.
We do have two Grade 2s out in Navan, and on Sunday there will be a column going out on Sunday, and Callum will obviously have his picks as well, so we'll cover that kind of later on in the week. We don't have declarations for that. We'll move in quickly just to discussing any kind of anti-post thoughts that we had before we kind of wrap up. Callum, just before anything else, I just want to say Zenta finally won a chase race.
Yeah, Willie Mullins does know what he's doing. Yeah, I mean, a bit slower ground over further, and she's turned up. It wasn't a great race, and he's beginning to win everything now. But I just think his whole string are now in better shape. It's now, as I thought with the Dublin Racing Festival, it kind of starts mid to late January where they begin to get the wheels in motion, and that will give them staying power from Cheltenham and beyond, into Aintree, into Punchestown, where if they are in the hunt for various championships over here, they can definitely have a go at it. Yeah, I mean, she won it. She looked a lot better, but I mean, it's taking her 4 runs to get there, and quotes of 20-25 to win for Mares Chase wouldn't interest me. And if she was in the Mares Hurdle, she'd be 10-1.
Well,
don't get it.
We obviously have as well. Bioluminescence was second behind Dancing City. I kind of left that. I know it was over further, but I thought she jumped very, very well. But Dancing City is obviously a far better horse. But I kind of left that race thinking she would need it to be that soft for a Mares Chase. It was like that last year, but I would just worry about her in quicker ground. That was my only worry.
She wouldn't run in quicker ground. I mean, Gavin Cromwell said on Monday,
yeah.
It was kind of lost in Willie Mullins' press day, but Gavin Cromwell came out the day before, and
because she's finished further than a better horse. Like Goodland, I think, is a decent horse.
Yeah, and he seems to be a stayer as well now.
Yeah.
They all look to be resolute stayers. It would need to be like last year Limerick Lace conditions for her to win, and she can win. She's a young up and comer improver that showed her hand best. We've got the Opera Hat in the weekend, where it's pretty much a 3-runner race, but it's a match between Allegory Devassi and Dino Blue.
And Bride's Hill, I think Bride's Hill's running today.
Bride's Hill's running today at Huntingdon. Fun's the horse that could go into the equation at Exeter on Sunday, only by nights there. There's a lot of kind of little contenders in and about it. It looks unlikely that Imperious is going to make it.
Yeah.
But it looks an interesting little hot race at the moment. It's one that I'm not really committing anything to. I think Dino Blue's probably get the most back class. Bioluminescence is a new Limerick lace on the block. Allegory Devassi's bounced back the last time. Can she back that up? She's get some high level form a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's others. Bride's Hill, if the ground's right for her. It wasn't. She'll need better ground, for instance. And there'll be a few others lurking in there as well. I think Fun could be a serious horse as well in that sphere. She's about the 14-1 mark. So yeah, I think it's just all about spying it around and looking at things, and having ideas. As a general kind of anti-post rule of thumb, and you've got 10 horses that are now sub 2-1 favourite. You're kind of beginning to look at, well, if Willie Mullins could win 6 out of 8 Grade 1s and favourites are winning kind of that, and his record with favourites has been pretty strong in the last couple of Cheltenham festivals. Anyway, you're looking at those 10 and you're thinking, how many can I really pair them up? I pair them up 4 over the course of the week that are bankers, and maybe put up a kind of list and work out the strengths and weaknesses of them all, and then maybe kind of rustle up together, maybe a kind of 10-1 4-5 fold or something like that.
Right, I've got the 10 in front of me here that are 2-1 and under. Right, I'm going to ask you to back one and lay one before we wrap up, and I'll do the same.
I'll lay Ballyburn.
I would lay Ballyburn and back Tia Hoopu, I think. And that'd be the one I'd go for.
Yeah, I don't know who would back. Copyright the Board, I think, is pretty hard not to back. And Copyright the Board would probably be the one that springs to my list. Ballyburn, I think he could lay. But it's kind of more looking at the kind of session, saying, like, what horses are so far? Is there any depth to this race? Is it a viral rival? At least Tia Hoopu, you can say, well, Home by the Lake could maybe get closer to him in better ground. He was only 3 lengths behind, so maybe that's not such the banker that it looked to be beforehand. Or Sergino, short, but Maswa, it's a serious horse. It's one of those ones where I think could weigh up. And I don't think anything can really get much shorter or longer from here on now. Maybe Sergino can if somebody has a performance that justifies it. And I think if Sergino puts in a big effort, funnily enough, it might heighten more interest in Maswa. But we'll wait and see how it develops. It's all interesting, but I just think in general terms, the prices aren't quite there, and I'll just kind of keep as many options open as possible at the moment.
We will definitely have a pick of some sort next week, because we've had too long without one. We'll have one next week.
Kind of gave one throughout the show.
One. Okay, right. We'll maybe save something for next week. I've got a few that I've backed privately. I'm going to try and maybe do my book out at some point, maybe in the next couple of weeks. I know I usually do it the Sunday before Cheltenham. I think I maybe do one earlier this year because I've got a few that are going okay privately. But Callum, all that's left for me to do is thank you as always, mate. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thanks again. Catch you next week.
And we'll see you all next week. And as I say, we'll have a column Saturday, Sunday for the weekend action. And as always, follow us on social media. We'll see you all soon.